Bryne, Norway, a small windswept town on the southwestern coast, where the freezing North Sea crashes against rugged cliffs and the wind never seems to stop howling. This is a place where people wake up before sunrise, where farming and fishing are still the backbone of life, and where the weather doesn't just shape the landscape, it shapes the people. It makes them tough, resilient, and uncomplaining. This is not the kind of place where football superstars are supposed to be born. There are no big stadiums here, no flashy academies, no scouts roaming the streets, just hard-working families, endless fields, and a tiny indoor pitch called Erling Haaland, where children go to escape the cold. Yet, from this unassuming, forgotten corner of the world, rose a Viking unlike any other. A boy with wild hair, an insatiable hunger for goals, and a name that would one day echo in every stadium on the planet, Erling Haaland. Now, you might think that Haaland's success is all about his incredible genetics, and sure, having a father who played in the Premier League and a mother who was a champion heptathlete definitely gives you a head start. But that's not the whole story. The real secret lies deep within the Norwegian culture itself. In Bryne, and across much of Norway, children are raised with a philosophy that is so simple, so refreshingly different, that it almost sounds radical to the rest of the world. They are not pushed to win at all costs. They are not yelled at by overbearing parents on the sidelines. They are not forced into grueling training schedules from the age of 6. Instead, they are given one single instruction: play football first and win later. Enjoy the game, fall in love with the ball, make mistakes, learn from them, and most importantly, have fun. This philosophy allowed Haaland to develop his natural instincts without the fear of failure holding him back. He wasn't playing to impress anyone. He was playing because he genuinely loved it, and that love for the game became the foundation of everything he would later achieve. Let's talk about his physical prowess for a moment, because it is nothing short of extraordinary. When Erling was just 5 years old, his family discovered something remarkable. The boy could jump, and not just a little jump. He set a world record for the standing long jump in his age category, leaping an incredible 1.63 meters from a standstill. To put that into perspective, that's longer than most fully grown adults can manage without a running start. And here's the really mind-blowing part. That record still stands today, years later, untouched by anyone else. But here's where the story takes an unexpected twist. His father, Alfie Haaland, had a dream for his son, but it wasn't the dream you might imagine. Alfie didn't dream of Erling becoming a world-class striker or winning the Ballon d'Or. No, his father's greatest hope was that Erling would become a professional golfer. You heard that right, golf. Alfie saw Erling's incredible hand-eye coordination, his calm demeanor, his ability to focus under pressure, and he thought, this boy is made for the green. For years, young Erling actually played golf seriously, and he was really, really good. But football had already captured his heart, and no amount of persuasion could pull him away from the beautiful game. The rest, as they say, is history. Before he became the most feared striker on the planet, Erling Haaland was just a regular kid doing regular kid things in a small Norwegian town. And like any regular kid, he had his fair share of mischief. One of his fondest childhood memories is what he and his friends jokingly called the bun heists. You see, there was a local bakery that used to throw away all the buns that weren't perfect enough to sell. And Erling and his gang of friends figured out exactly when those buns were being discarded. They would sneak around the back, grab as many as they could carry, and make a run for it. When asked about it years later, he just laughed and said, "We just went in there." It wasn't really stealing. They were going to throw them away anyway. It was innocent, it was fun, and it was a glimpse into the carefree childhood he had. On top of that, he learned to drive a tractor at a very young age, helping out on farms in the area. He jokes that the tractor was not from the 20th century, implying it was even older than that. He was never the entitled superstar kid. He was a boy who stole buns, drove old tractors, played in the rain, and dreamed of scoring goals. That grounded, humble upbringing is exactly what keeps him level-headed today, even with millions of fans cheering his name every single week. Despite being a global icon with millions of followers on social media and a net worth that most people can only dream of, Erling Haaland lives in a world that is surprisingly small and intensely private. He has built a bubble around himself, and very few people are allowed inside. Take, for example, the time he accidentally ghosted actor Tom Holland. You know, Spider-Man himself. Tom had invited Erling to a dinner, but Erling had absolutely no idea who Tom Holland was. He didn't recognize the name, didn't care about Hollywood, and simply didn't respond. When reporters later asked him about it, he shrugged and said he was too busy playing Minecraft. And that pretty much sums up his personality. He genuinely does not care about fame, celebrities, or the glamorous life. What does he care about? Minecraft, for one. He spends his rare downtime building virtual houses and exploring blocky worlds with his childhood sweetheart, Isabel. The two of them reconnected on Instagram after many years apart, and they have been inseparable ever since. But here's the most remarkable thing. They have a son together, yet they have never revealed his name or shown his face to the public. Not a single photo, not a single hint. In an era where celebrities exploit their children for social media likes, Holland and Isabel have chosen complete and total privacy. They don't want their son to grow up in the spotlight. They want him to have a normal childhood, just like Erling had in Bryne. That level of restraint and discipline, in my opinion, is even more impressive than any goal he has ever scored. Now let's talk about the monster, and I say that with the utmost respect, because the way Holland trains and eats is nothing short of legendary. He consumes an astonishing 6,000 calories every single day. To put that into context, that's roughly 3 times what an average adult male needs. But these aren't just any calories. His diet is strict and meticulously planned. He drinks raw milk every day, he eats massive cuts of steak, and perhaps most shockingly, he eats cow hearts and livers. Yes, you heard that correctly, animal organs. He believes that these nutrient-dense foods give him the energy and strength to perform at the highest level. He even jokes, "I live to eat." But his training is just as intense. He regularly takes ice baths to aid recovery, spends time in saunas to push his cardiovascular system, and trains in a hypoxic chamber that simulates the thin air of high altitudes, forcing his body to produce more red blood cells and increase his stamina. And if that wasn't enough, he has a bizarre mental exercise he swears by. He calls it raw dogging. It means sitting on a long-haul flight for 7 hours with absolutely no food, no water, no entertainment, just sitting there in complete stillness, fighting his own mind. He does this simply to test his mental strength, to prove to himself that he can endure extreme discomfort without complaint. This obsessive dedication to both physical and mental conditioning is what sets him apart from every other player on the planet. It's not just talent, it's a lifestyle of relentless discipline. Here's the most fascinating part of Haaland's psyche. He has a mantra that he repeats to himself constantly. He says, "I feel tired, but I tell my body I'm not." This simple phrase reveals the depth of his mental training. He doesn't deny feeling tired. He acknowledges the fatigue, but he chooses not to surrender to it. He consciously overrides his body's signals with the sheer power of his mind. And guess what? Science actually backs him up on this. Studies have shown that positive self-talk and mental affirmations can improve athletic performance by as much as 18%. That's a massive margin at the elite level. When other players are slowing down, when they're starting to doubt themselves, Haaland is repeating his mantra, pushing forward and finding the energy to score. But what makes this even more remarkable is that he wasn't always like this. As a child, he was extremely emotional on the pitch. He would cry bitterly after missing a chance. He would get angry, frustrated, and let his emotions get the better of him. But over the years, he trained his mind just as hard as he trained his body. He learned to control his emotions, to channel his frustration into motivation, and to turn his inner critic into his biggest cheerleader. That transformation from a crying child to an unshakable warrior is perhaps the most inspiring part of his entire journey. It proves that mental resilience is not something you're born with. It's something you build day by day, failure by failure, until it becomes unbreakable. So who is Erling Haaland really? He is not just a footballer who scores goals. He is not just a physical specimen with incredible speed and power. He is something far more fascinating. He is a Viking raised on discipline and joy, on the freezing winds of Norway and the warmth of a supportive community. He is fueled by raw milk and cow hearts, yes, but also by an unshakable belief in his own mind. He is a man who ghosted Spider-Man because he was too busy playing Minecraft. A man who keeps his son's name a secret in an age of overexposure. A man who sits alone on a plane for hours just to prove he can endure. He is the boy who used to cry over missed chances, who now tells his exhausted body, "No, you're not tired." He is a paradox, both a monster and a child, both an unstoppable force and a humble soul. And the most beautiful part? The world is just beginning to understand him. Every match, every goal, every celebration is adding a new chapter to his legend. But the story behind the story, the discipline, the love, the pain, the growth, that is what truly makes him unstoppable. This is Erling Haaland, and his journey has only just begun.